Now we're going to start to get into the cutting phase for the bigger stroker cylinders. The reason that the cylinders are wider on the bases down here, as you can see how much has been cut off the stock. The reason is that with the bigger the piston, the cylinder diameter has to be a little bit bigger because there's not enough meat on the cylinder with that big a piston. So we've got the edges all cut out down here, and you can see how much. That's fine. You know, you can have a little bit of space right there, but you just want to go real slow. And after I get done cutting this out, what I do is I will sand it down with a barrel roller, maybe 120 grit, and you can see how close we get right here. And this is the rear boost port there, and I've I've ground down this area and this area, but you can see how close that it gets to this upper line. Now, if you use a 52 millimeter instead of a 50 millimeter crank, you're gonna almost cut into these holes here. Oh, you probably will. And that, you know, that's a whole nother problem, because you lose case strength and things like that. Here's the rear, or the front, right here. And this did go all the way straight up here. And this is on the other side here. You can see the bolt holes here. So I've cut into the channel on the other side, but you'll have to take off meat here and here, and then you have to take off areas right here and here. These areas are taken off right here and right here for the piston skirts, because remember, you're dealing with a lot bigger piston, 54 millimeter, and with the bigger crank, so like I said, it's going to come down deeper into the crankshaft well right here, and it's going to lift higher than a 50 millimeter. That's because the diameter of the crank is so much larger. Well, 2 millimeters larger. And then you want to get a good set of these are good nuts to put on your head, and I always use like red or blue Loctite. Now, if you're gonna, like I said, this is the outer transmission thing, and I think it's got like 1, 2, 3, 4. There's like 5, just 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it has 5 screws that go in it, or bolts or whatever. And this here holds on the other side. It holds on the brake, the centerpiece. And then you've got your seal, and then your blue bearing behind that. This is the only problem getting the bearing out. All the rest of them will tap out no problem. But this bearing, it's a little tiny bitch bearing. And what you have to do to get this out, this is called a blind bearing, because it doesn't have a hole on the other side. But you can see it does have a little gap in the bottom of it. You have to put in this little tiny round, flexible, hollow tube. It's got a couple little tiny flanges on it. You seat it in here, and then you screw you tighten the flanges up, and they spread underneath the bearing, and then you attach the little piece to a slide hammer, and you go bang, 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 and it'll pull right out. And like, if you're going to rebuild your everything, it's good to replace the transmission bearings, because you don't know how bad they've been in shape. And I've had them seize up on me before. and this is probably only an inch across. And this you won't need to worry about really that much unless it's leaking. And you'll notice that it'll be leaking around your rear brake pads or your rear wheel. And remember that oil cannot be anywhere near brake pads. In any case, any car, anything, when I was working at a brake shop, and there's our because oil on brakes, what will happen is the minute you have saturated asbestos brake pads and they hit metal, they will grab hold and not let go immediately. They're not supposed to do that. Now these black rubber are for, this is for water sealant, but the red is special. It's called nitrile or nitron. These are high heat O-rings. And if you, when I order my set from VT, I always order an extra set which comes with all this, just in case something goes wrong or whatever. And it's always nice to have a spare set on hand, because you don't have to wait and call them up and have it resent to you. Now this is one thing I like to do. I took a number of pins, colored pins. I took purple, violet, and green. And I wanted to show, instead of just looking at the case halves, and as you can see, this half goes to this one goes to the side with the alternator on it, flywheel. Now what this purple shows right here, and like I said, a picture's worth 1,000 words. I was going to rent this out and make a fortune, but I just screw it. I'll just do it for free. You know, I did it for myself anyway, so I might as well just give it away for free. I hope you guys like it out here. This purple will show you, this line right here was the inner line is the stock line. The outer line is how much meat has been taken off the outside right here for this to fit. Now this is for a 50 millimeter crank, not the bigger one. The bigger one is, I will go over how to do the bigger one. The bigger one is extremely difficult and has its own set of problems. And I do like it. Mine did work, my first one, but I don't think I'll ever build another one. The engines are just, they're, well, I just don't think I will. I don't really need to go 120 cc's. 114 is big enough for me. Now on this dark purple line, this is the area that was cut out. These are cut out for the piston skirts, because the piston is going to come down farther. This right here is your rear boost port that's cut out. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you know, just nice and smooth. These purple lines here show you how much room that you're going to have after you get the 50 millimeter, I call it the crank well, cut out. This one's not a problem, but you do have a problem here and here, and the green ones show how much meat it's got to be taken off for the big 54 millimeter cylinder to fit. And you don't have to use a 54 millimeter. That's not a very good one. And you can see here, see if I can get that in good shape. If you'll notice up here, that piece of aluminum right there is paper thin. It probably goes about a ½ inch down to here. It's just, now the paper thin, it won't hurt anything because the cylinder cast iron sleeve will be right behind it. But the thing is, you don't want to lose any pressure up in these holes. You don't want to have any pressure escape or any air get in, because you'll lose your case integrity And once you do that, then you got problems. Remember that these motors are an air pump, and they have to be sealed. And I hope you like these pictures as far as a person can explain and explain and explain, but these really get to the heart of the matter and show how that works. All right, I'm going to make these videos a little bit smaller so they're not so long. Okay, next one.